Hey.
Hey, yo, chill.
That's right. Coming to you live is Uncle Vin-Rock in Dallas. Yeah. What's up, my people? On this episode of Foodie By Nature, we're visiting Steve Hutchinson, a 50-plus year veteran lobster fisherman. Also, we're visiting our good friend Abbey from the Deer Isle Oyster Company in the great state of Maine. Stay tuned, there's tons in store.
You know, you ever eat something, you look at the bite, and you're like, this is going to be a good bite. Yeah. That's this right now.
You should have caught my grand entrance.
Well, so right now what I'm doing is I'm prepping the bait. I'm putting the bait pocket. I'm filling them up. So that way we're ready to haul the string of traps. So I like to do things beforehand rather than just wait at the very last minute, because we could be taking traps on and we might be shifting them into a different location, or we could be just leaving them here.
What are you using for bait?
So we're using herring, just a typical fish that we use, and we're using pork. And pork seems to hold up better in the trap, so that way when we go and haul the next time around, it's still there. So at least there's some bait right there, so the lobsters can keep coming in.
Okay.
Because normally with herring, where it's a soft fish, it tends to, deteriorate quicker, and then that way we have to rebait it constantly and whatnot.
Listen, if you haven't had a Maine lobster, you don't know what you're missing. But we're right here in the backyard. We're joining the great people on the lobster boat. Introduce yourself, buddy, and tell us what's going on here.
Steve Hutchinson.
All right.
And we're just doing our thing.
And this is your boat? How long have you had this boat, and how long have you been lobstering?
Well, I've had a lobster license for 52 years. I'm 57 years old.
Wow!
Actual doing my own fishing is probably 45 years.
45 years?
Yeah, right around there.
And I hear most of the economy here is definitely fishing, but like 90% of the people who live here are some kind of fishermen or lobstermen?
Yep, mostly lobstermen.
So what would you say? You see some of the changes that's happening in the lobster industry in the past however many decades?
Bigger boats, faster boats, bigger engines. The electronics, the equipment we have to use compared to like what my grandfather had is it's just unbelievable.
And I can imagine, with the government and regulating, just to make sure that the lobster industry stays sustainable. Have you seen stricter restrictions?
Oh yeah. You bought your license, and we abided by our lobster measures. And there really wasn't a whole lot of restrictions. I mean, there's like you could start hauling a certain time in the morning.
Do you deem it necessary though? Because what about if there's no regulations and then they overfish and you kill the whole industry?
You need we need some regulation, but it's getting invasive. A lot of guys now have to have tracking devices. The government knows where you are all the time.
Right. That's the ultimate big brother. It's like you have big brother in the water, then you get back to land, you have big brother tracking you all over the place.
It was a business that was so, it was like independent and kind of like felt like not so regulated.
What kind of bait do you use, and what's the cost of this?
Well, we were lucky. This is the first time this year that we got fresh herring. And I'm not sure if one of our herring boats caught it or if it come from Canada. But we used to use almost strictly herring. And the herring industry got so overregulated.
How much would a stash like this cost you?
Well,
compared to back in the day versus now?
And when I first started in the 80s, this would be like $30. Right now it's pretty close to $500.
Wow.
For just what's here. Prices, everything's expensive.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and I watched the Deadliest Catch, the crab show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I appreciate you guys as fishermen. And when I watched Deadliest Catch, it definitely made me go out and support the industry and buy, purchase, and consume more crab, you know?
Yep. We're like a small scale of what they do.
When's the usual peak season out here?
Well, usually after the 4th of July, into the middle of July is when they first start up, and they'll stay pretty steady until September. And usually in September we call it the September slump.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason they just stop. There's like another cycle of lobsters that shed and come out. So we have to wait, and there'll be like 2 weeks of just dry. Nobody's really catching a lot.
So what are the lobsters like normal migration patterns? Do they live in this water? Do they move north, south?
They do. Some do, and some don't. Some of them come in, and some of them stay where they are. And some of these lobsters that are right here migrate.
Well, thank you, Steve. I had a great time on the water today recovering fresh catch lobster. And now I can add lobster fisherman to my resume. Next up, we'll pay a visit to our dear friend Abbey Barrows. She's one of, if not the only, oyster farmers in this region of Deer Isle, Maine.
Ain't no way you know it's on me, baby. All eyes on you. Know you've been made.
Swim into that.
Right, or kayaking. Right now we're here in Maine on Deer Isle, and we happened upon an oyster farm today. And we have some beautiful young ladies who's going to walk us through what they do for a living. So can you introduce yourself?
My name's Abbey Barrows, and I'm the owner-operator of Deer Isle Oyster Company.
Oh, wow. And, you know, I watched the previous documentary, and I realized, like, you came out for oysters one day, and they didn't have it, and the guy offered you to buy the farm. So what made you want to purchase an oyster farm?
Sheer nihilism? No, I think that I had always been interested in working on the water, and I was already working as a research scientist, but more and more I was working in a lab. And I grew up here in Stonington and recognized the importance of the working waterfront and providing food, local sustainable food for our community. So I was drawn to oyster farming for that of many other reasons.
Right. So I know this is a big lobster town, lobster farming town. Compared to lobstering, how many other oyster farms are around?
This is the only standard lease on the island.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's a few other LPAs, which are like smaller, not quite commercial level sort of production. But this one's been here since I think 1999. So this one's been around for some time.
Oh, wow. So you've cornered the market here, eh?
For now, but you know, I can't wait to see more oyster farms in the area. I think it's really important for diversifying our economy, and also they're really great for the environment. So having more oysters in the area seems like a good thing.
Yeah, speaking of which, I know like mussels, a lot of shellfish, but you know, kind of like oysters and mussels. What do they do for the ecology and the water around here?
So glad you asked. So these crazy looking rocks can filter up to 50 gallons of water in a day. So they're pulling out phytoplankton, zooplankton, but also impurities, which help with the water clarity. The water clarity means that the light can penetrate down deeper into the water and allow for more diverse marine plants to grow. And those marine plants can then act as a nursery for all the different marine species that are important for a healthy ecosystem.
So these things are like filters, you know,
Yep,
they filter out and clean the water.
Yep.
But people love to eat oysters. How is it not toxic to the body?
That's a great question as well. You can't grow an oyster, well, you can grow an oyster anywhere, but you don't want to eat an oyster from anywhere. So this water here and around Deer Isle and this part of Maine has really clean, cold water that makes for a healthy and delicious oyster. But that's one of the things also, thinking about toxicity and pollution, why we're trying to work on looking at different types of materials to grow oysters in. So these are all basically 1-inch bags, but over there on that side of the farm we have the baby oysters, and those are in window screen, like window screen that you'd have in your house. So very fine mesh. So those babies hopefully will be ready in 2 to 3 years. But in the meantime, we have to tend them. It's really farming. You know, we're really making sure there's not too much biofouling, so algae growing and blocking the water flow. Because the saying is, the more flow, more grow, more dough.
Hey, you're right. I'm about to sign you. That was a dope rhyme, you know? So what about the baby oysters? Where do you retrieve them from? Where do you get them?
So we actually purchase them from a hatchery that cultivates the eastern oyster. So this species of oyster, which is native to Maine. They're cultivated down in mid-coast Maine. They ship them up overnight, and then we get them in the water as quickly as possible.
Now, do they breed here as well, where you have baby oysters?
Maybe someday. Right now, no. The water still is cool enough that they do not spawn. So these filter feeders and shellfish, many of the bivalves do broadcast spawning, so they put eggs and sperm into the water, and then those meet and create baby oysters. The waters around here and the moon cycles, all the factors sort of have to line up for that to happen, and that doesn't happen out here really. Maybe it's happened twice in 25 years, but right now we don't really have wild populations of oysters.
Right. And as you mentioned before, there are regulations, right? They have to be a certain size when you're
Actually, oysters don't have to be a certain size. We don't have that in Maine, but for like lobsters and some other seafood, they do, but we're farming these. So if we wanted, we could harvest an oyster that size. There's no legal limit, but we just like to have a standard just so people know what to expect when they purchase our oysters. But why don't we pop some open and try?
All right, no problem.
Okay, so this is the cup side, and this is what we call the hinge where it just got in. And they pull the water in through here, and then they pass it over their gills. See in here? And this whole area is called the mantle cavity. This is the abductor muscle, which holds the two shells together. It's very strong in oysters. That's why they have a good shelf life. They can really survive out of the water for a long time if you keep them nice and cold. And then their heart is just right above the muscle there. See that there?
Yeah.
So this guy's probably still alive. And this is the stomach up here. So I'll sever that. And if you want, you can have a slurp.
Here I am, Uncle Vin's first raw oyster. So do I chew or just kind of swallow?
So see the liquid in here? That's called the liquor. And then inside the animal is another type of liquor. So it's really important to slurp and give it a few chews, because that releases that second sort of more umami flavor that comes with the oyster.
Okay, here we go, umami. You know, that's not bad. Honestly, it's not. It's like, it's salty. You can taste the salt.
I'm glad you think it's not bad.
No, it really isn't. I was petrified. Like,
you had a brave face. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Definitely acquired texture. You know, like not everyone loves the texture. But I mean, you can't get much more fresh than this, and I have to say that the further down east in Maine, the cooler and more flavorful the oysters are, I think. You were asking about the process out here and how it all works. This is sort of our first step. So these are cedar boxes that we built, and this is what we put the baby oysters in. So we just processed these the other day, but these go in these larger ranch-style cages. So these slide in, and we probably put about 12,000 oysters in each of these tiny little babies. They're like the size of sand.
Wow.
That go in here. So that's how we get them in the mail, and we put them in all these boxes that we built, and they do their thing and they grow, and then we grade them and try to get them into larger mesh bags, which are these. So the next step after that is trying to get them into these, and then you can see there's more potential for water flow, and that's where we put the next size up. And so and then once they graduate from here, we put them in the next size up, because we're always trying to get them in larger mesh bags because more water flow. As I said, more flow, more grow, more dough.
Yeah.
So that's that step, and we have all the stuff out here because we just did it the other day and then we lost the tide to unload it. But the biggest thing for our farm, this is our second season with this apparatus, and a lot of people are like, what is going on here? What is this thing? You can tell it's homemade because a lot of oyster farmers just like figure out things and usually don't have much of a budget because you're a farmer and
Right.
basically broke most of the time.
Hey, but it could lead to a patent, and then you're really in business.
Right. So this is a tumbler and grater. And so those two words, tumbling means that we are tumbling the oysters and moving them around through this tube, and that breaks off that thin outer shell that I was showing you.
Yes.
And when you break off that thin outer shell, that makes the oyster want to have a deeper cup and put on more shell. A deeper cupped oyster is more marketable, there's more meat in it, it's easier to shuck, and it's just a finer looking oyster.
Okay.
So that's what we're going for. And that tumbling does that. Then, as I was saying before as well, the oysters want to be with the same size oysters. So we use this to sort or grade them as well. This one has the baby tube on, so it has very small holes, but basically the different size oysters will fall through the different holes, and if they are too big for any of the holes, they shoot out the end. And then we sort them by size. This also is all solar powered. So you can see we have 2 panels up there, and then we have our smart battery in here. And we've had to learn a lot about electricity and not shocking ourselves. But this is a very basic system. It tells us, you know, how much sun and how much power is going to the battery. The battery I can Bluetooth to my phone, and then we use this to power a couple things. We use it to power the tumbler. So that's running a really simple motor that's in there. And then we can also use it to power water to go through the tube to clean the oysters.
So from those little tiny babies to a full marketable size, how long does it take?
It depends. You know, they grow at different rates depending on food availability, and they're like people. You know, they have growth spurts, but generally 2 to 3 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's quite a process.
So we call it farming. It is kind of more like orcharding because it takes a long time to be able to reap what you've sowed.
Right. Well, thank you, Abby, for having me today. I learned a lot. It was fun. I ate my first raw oysters straight out the ocean. I really appreciate it. So good luck with your operation. And hey, I have the Elfstrom, so I'll be back, okay? And pleasure to meet you and your crew, ladies. Pleasure to meet you.
All right, let's put a lobster to sleep. All the legs will drop.
Okay, so what are we doing here, Eric?
This is a lobster tutorial.
Wow.
How to break it open and get the meat.
We have a super special guest today.
We have a guest.
Who
Dallas.
do we have here?
Dallas. Say, hey, yo, chill.
Hey, yo, chill, broski.
So the first thing I do is the tail.
you pulled
But
off
this is
the-
really hot right now. So you gotta take the tail,
I'm going.
twist it off like that. And then you gotta take the tail right here, and you gotta twist that off too, but it's still very hot.
Okay.
So you twist it off, and then it's gonna sound weird, but you gotta stick your fingers in there and push the meat out.
Okay.
Like that. Boom. Oh man.
That's the shell.
Oh my God.
Well, Dad showed me they boil the lobsters in the seawater out there with seaweed.
Yeah, with seaweed.
And you can really taste it. It tastes great.
That's a secret code, I think. Then the claw right here, take this guy out like that, and then you take these clamps, go like this, a little boink, and you can take this and rip it off by the joint, Maybe not.
I understand that part because I love crab, snow crab.
Claw, I think.
Yeah, fresh Maine lobsters, folk.
I think claw is the most tasteful piece. I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes, but it's okay for the show. Little claw action, yoink, yoink.
This is nice, man. I'm usually not a lobster guy, but this is great. Look, man, we have fresh caught Maine lobster. And you know, we caught these ourselves today. Well, we
assisted.
Yes. We went on a journey.
You eat what you kill.
Yes, yes.
So you eat what you assist. Also, did you know this? These little legs, there's meat in here too.
Yeah, I know.
So when you rip them off,
I'd skip that part. For me, it's claw and tail. Pause.
Pause. Like, ooh, there's some meat in that one, huh? Oh. And all you really need is 2 tools, this and the poker.
Yep. Pause.
Pause, no diddy. Oh, look at this. Ooh, lobster, baby. You know, you ever eat something, you look at the bite, and you're like, this is gonna be a good bite. Yeah. That's this right now. That is.
Well, you know what? It's the end result right there.
Now we have 10 more to go through. Oh. Oh, Lord. So do you like bear lobsters better than like a lobster roll?
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of work to get a little bit of meat, though.
No, this is a lot of meat. Pause.
Pause. No diddy.
Used to give this to slaves out here. And the slaves put in their contract, you can't feed them lobster more than 3 times a week. Wow. That's how abundant lobster was out here.
Need a Diet Coke. Diet Coke, cut the check. Just cut the check. It's really easy to do. Just cut that shit. Little rubber band thing off. His name is Jeff. Gotta go.
I guess I know the same.